How much should I practice? I get asked that question a lot. I don't think it is the best question or the most useful question. I think a better question is how often should I practice? And that is because it is far more important that you don't take days off in between than you spend a lot of time on one day. And I will see this a lot with my students. Someone may say, I'm going to practice an hour every day, and then life happens. We're adults and there's all kinds of responsibilities, and it really can be hard to fit that much practice in. So you skip a day and you skip another day, and they may come to a lesson, which is every 2 weeks, and they may not have practice for an entire week. So what happens is some of that practice that you did at the beginning kind of disappears if you wait for a whole week in between. You don't get the benefit of that. So what I counsel my students to do is to make sure you touch the piano at a minimum every day. Then people might panic because how am I going to do an hour practice every day? You don't have to practice an hour every day. On the days when you're in danger of not touching the piano at all, make sure you touch the piano at least 5 minutes. Even 30 seconds is better than nothing. If you have your books open out on the piano and ready for whatever your main assignment is, then you can just pass by the piano, sit down and play what your assignment is, a couple of repetitions, even one repetition. And then if you have another 5 minutes while you're waiting on hold, you could pass by and do it again. So it may be that you could actually squeeze in more than 5 minutes, but even 5 minutes, I think I want to train my students to realize that those 5 minutes are not wasted. They are actually good reinforcement. Your brain is waiting for that. Your brain will decide if you're doing something over and over again, this is important, I need to remember it. Whereas if you take a long break, it's going to allocate those resources to something else that is obviously more important because you're doing it more often. So we need to be telling our brains, even if we're running out of time, no, piano is important, I want you to remember this, I'm going to touch it every day. And then you can take it even a step farther. We can get creative with our practice. Let's say you do have chunks of time, maybe you have an hour or even 2 hours to practice on a day. That can be more useful if you take breaks, leave it for 5 minutes and then come back and start again. Or if you chop up your practice into a bunch of mini practice sessions so that you're working on half of your piece or quarter of your piece, and then you switch over to a different piece, and then you switch to a different piece. Studies have shown that the very act of recall, of having to call up again, what is it that I'm doing, helps solidify our learning. So lots of mini practice sessions or switching things up in the middle of a big practice session is sort of a hack that will help our brain to learn a little faster. The other thing you can do is if you do happen to have more time at home and you can leave your books out on top of your piano just ready to go, the more times throughout the day, even if you're just passing by and you're just doing one run through or practicing a couple of measures, that is going to be very valuable. It will help your brain to say, oh yes, we need to be remembering this. And then if you can come back again later in the day and again later in the day, that works for people who have, perhaps who work at home, a lot of us do during the pandemic. You could do that, and that would be even better than just sitting down for 30 minutes and practicing. So I try to teach a new mindset. Not how much should I practice, how often should I practice, how often can I practice, how can I fit it in there, even if some of those practices are very small.